All right, welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. My name is KB, and with me, as always, is the old man. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's nice to wear my Veterans Day celebration shirt for America and America's veterans,
Absolutely.
which we should never forget about. And look, I even pulled out my old Army hat. Look at this. Look at this thing, all beat up. I still got it.
There you go.
I
There you
still
go.
got it. There it is. Maybe I should wear it.
There you go.
I put it under my things and wear it. You know what these are?
What?
Can you see these? See the white things?
Yeah.
What do you think those are?
I can't tell.
Those are my originals. Those are called Ranger eyes.
Mhm.
They're reflective. So the guy behind you at night can see where he's following you. It gets so dark in woods, jungles, at night in places that if there's any light at all, it'll reflect just a little bit to the guy behind you to see those.
Very
But yeah, that's my original hat from 1973.
Very cool. Very
Okay, 1973, student in Army ROTC at Florida State University, and I went off to Ranger School and successfully graduated and did another 28 years of associated service with the United States Army. So my salute to all the veterans out there and all the veterans' families out there,
Absolutely.
because they put up with a lot too. Okay, they put up with a lot of moving, new schools, new friendships, old friendships leaving.
Yep.
But you know, the veterans are the backbone of our country, and not a day goes by we shouldn't thank them for what they do. And let me say this to any young people who could be listening. We don't get that many young people listening. I'm talking high school kids or younger people, even in their 20s. If you don't know what to do with your life, check out the military services. They have every type of occupation you have in regular civilian life, and they will train you. You will do your stint, or you could do an entire career, and you're prepared to go out and do all types of things. You know, secure communications, heavy electrical lines. I mean, you don't have to be a gun toter, but you can do that too. Driving vehicles, vehicle mechanics, and aircraft mechanics. It gives a lot of opportunities out there. So again, salute to our veterans, and I hope they all had a very, very great day.
Yep. Absolutely. 100% totally agree with you. So yeah, happy Veterans Day, and now we have a lot to talk about in regards to Florida State. Obviously, if you haven't heard already, big changes were underway after the embarrassing loss to Notre Dame. Like I predicted, a blowout in embarrassing fashion, and it played out like that. And immediately afterwards, coaches were let go. Thankfully, actions, as we said, speak louder than words. And we were hearing a whole lot of word salad from Mike Norvell the last couple of weeks, or in for much of the season. And finally, actions followed those words. And actually, the old man was busy this week because he actually got some behind the scenes footage of Mike Norvell talking to the staff. I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah.
But it.
That's what I do all week.
Well, hey, I didn't think you got credentialed yet, so let me see if I can pull up the footage that I got of you. Let me 1 second here. But while when I'm pulling that up, these moves, and we're going to go through the press conference too of Mike Norvell, and we're going to discuss that. But a lot went on this week, so let me see if I can get here. I'll pull up the coverage
Yeah, there's
here.
not a lot to discuss about the Notre Dame game itself,
No,
which
there's
I'll
not.
tell you what, that is probably the least emotional game that I've watched or listened to, because I've been listening to games since the mid-'60s when Coach Bill Peterson was the head coach of our program. It was the least emotional. I just kind of watched to see from a player development standpoint who should be on this roster and who can really contribute in 2025, 2026. I mean, because
wait. I found the footage of
okay.
Mike Norvell behind the scenes that
All
you
right.
took. So let me pull
Let's
it up
do
real
it.
quick.
Let's run it.
And let's see if I can get this up here.
Let's run it.
All right, let me get it up here. 3. Let me see. You kind of rushedly put it together. So let me see it here.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's the coverage of Mike Norvell that the old man got together here, and here we go. Let's see.
You're fired.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired, JR. You heard it. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. All right. You're fired. You're fired.
That's old Mike Norvell.
Fired. You're fired. Donald Trump. You're fired. You're
All weekend.
I wish
All weekend. All
Mike
weekend.
I wish Mike had that much passion, but I'll pretend like he did when he was sparring Atkins and Dugans and those guys.
Yeah. You know, we have to laugh, KB. We have to laugh. I mean, like I said, the emotion after this season and after the game Saturday, and I watched the whole thing. I didn't turn away till the show went off the air.
Yeah.
You know, I had to listen to the sarcasm of the war chant from the Notre Dame students, the laughing that was going on. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, including the 0-11 season that I sat through in 1973 at the stadium. It wasn't like that. Our team tried. They just didn't have the abilities to overcome the schedule they had, but they tried and they competed. The worst loss of the 73 season was to Florida, a game coming up in a few weeks here, 49-0 when we lost to Florida, and we were 0-11 at that point. And of course, the coach got fired, Larry Jones from Tennessee. So we have to laugh a little bit. But all I do now is I'm not concerned. Yes, I would like to beat Florida Gators. You gotta.
That's not going to happen. It's not.
Well, I don't know about that. They're on their third-string quarterback, and Texas wasted them. And their third-string quarterback is a guy they brought in from Yale. All right.
But Lagway's week to week. He's
well, he could be. I think he's going to try to be back for the Knowles game, but I don't.
Which is in 3 weeks.
Okay, but I'm not sure he'll be 100%. Whatever, doesn't matter. Like to beat them. But if we don't, I'm not gonna throw the TV around the room. I just don't feel that passion. So I think this is a good time to go into this interview, which I watched a couple of times today, this is the presser for Mike on Monday, his usual Monday presser. So it's kind of interesting, and I do have a few comments. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, this is a portion of it we'll listen to and give some feedback.
And then stop it at times.
Place for what you don't make decisions like this to this scope and without having an idea of what it is that you are looking for. What are the areas where I think we can continue to improve and support our players and highlighting the guys that we have, and also highlighting the guys that we're going to go get. And so I mean, I do have a plan in that. Don't want to get into too many specifics at this time, but yes, I've got a picture of what that's going to be. And I've been fortunate throughout my career. I've had to hire a lot of coaches, and very few times have I had to hire coaches because of the situation that we're in now. And usually it's been from guys in promotions and other opportunities that have been presented.
And my reaction to this clip, and this clip was focused on what did he have a plan in place when he made the firings? And he's saying, yes, I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have made a drastic decision like this unless I had a plan. And the reason why that makes me pause is because, did you not have a plan the last 2 or 3 years when you didn't? Because teams don't fall off a cliff if you're planning correctly. Because you could say, well, Atkins was doing his job and Dugans was doing his job and Fuller was doing his job and look what the results were last year and stuff like that. But teams don't fall off a cliff like this if things were being managed properly. If guys were doing their jobs, if guys were recruiting properly. Programs don't fall to 1-10, 1-9 after winning a conference title if things are being done properly. If guys are doing their jobs, if they're being held accountable, if there's a plan in place. So that's where I don't trust Mike's planning and that he has a big plan when I see how he handled those coaches in years past and how he's handled recruiting years past. And so I want to believe in Mike because I have no other choice but to believe in Mike because we're not getting rid of him. So I want to trust in Mike's vision. I want to trust in his decision-making, but I've seen too many examples of bad decisions being made. Now, I'll say this is a good decision he made, but I think his hand was forced. He had to make this decision. There was no other choice but to fire these coaches. And for anyone who thinks otherwise, they're dumb. You're a dumb person. I'm sorry to say that, but he had to make these decisions. I bet NILs were the NIL collective, the Battles End was forcing him. I bet Alford was on his ass. This was not his decision to make. It was other people made it for him, essentially. So don't think that Mike came to his senses finally. It was like, I got to make this choice. No, if he didn't make this choice, it was forced upon him. Because look how late it came to. Mike likes to see the good in people. He likes having good people around him. And by all accounts, everyone he fired is a good person. But we need good coaches, not just good people. And so, Mike, I really do hope you have a good plan in place because you're going to freaking need it, man. You're really going to need it to get out of the freaking hole that you just dug this program into.
Yeah, I think he summarized it pretty good there. I have a few things to add. I'm really so focused now, KB, on the rebuild that I don't really have the emotion, the passion of the old Miami games when it was a top 10 battle, or the Notre Dame game when it was a top 10 battle, or the Florida game when everything's on the line, that's kind of gone for now. Now that doesn't mean I'm indifferent or I'm negative. And what I'm focused on is the reality of getting this program back to what the standard is. Mike constantly says the standard. What the hell is the standard? Is the standard to be competing for playoffs every year? Is that the standard? Is the standard winning the ACC championship every year? Is the standard winning national championships? It has to be the standard. That is the standard for this program that was set by Coach Bobby Bowden and even Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
That is the standard that we expect. So he never defines what his standard is. Nobody really asks him, Mike, what is your standard? Which I think that's the answer anyways. But let me throw a few other things.
Yep.
I listened to this a couple of times, and he does do still a lot of word salad. Just a lot of words, same stuff. We got to work harder. We got to get better. I trust in these young men. I trust in my coaches. Everybody's doing the best they can. The results aren't there. He says the results aren't there. That's on him. That's on him. And if it wasn't for nobody's going to ask, but if it wasn't for this golden parachute, as they say in the commercial world, of $63 million or some figure like that, he'd be gone. Any other standard program that has the highest standards, if he didn't have this buyout, he would be fired. He would have gone out the door with the rest of them. That's just the truth of the matter. All right?
Yeah.
The other truth is we're still in litigation, which to me is the top priority for this program. This means that the Florida State has to get out of the ACC. Let's not forget that. That is the number one objective of the
Okay.
of the sports program. It is. Don't hold on a minute.
I know.
Because if we don't get out, we can't compete for the standard that everybody wants. The trajectory of the money, and you know that piece, is there. So the question is, what's going to happen quicker? Are we going to get out of the ACC before the rebuild is actually completed? Because here's what he also says, and you may have it also in the club. He's got a plan. I've got this plan. It's like a secret plan, all right? That a lot
That's
of
what he
talking.
just said in the clip. That's what he was just talking about.
A secret plan. I've got a plan. And I don't know if he said it in this clip. He says the turnaround's not going to take long. It's going to be a quick turnaround. If you listen to what he says throughout the interview, it's about it's going to be a quick turnaround. Now, the question is, when he throws out language like that, fans start to bite on it. I bid on it. Quick turnaround. What does that mean? Does that mean we're going to return to the standard in 25? Or does that mean we're going to be a 500 club? So that starts the rebuild, and that's what he's talking about. Or does it mean we're going to go to a toilet bowl game, and with 6 wins? You can even go to bowl games with 5 wins now, I'm hearing. What does he see as a quick turnaround? Because when you've only won 1 game, a quick turnaround could be 3 games. So he's a little misleading. He's picking his words, trying to pick them carefully. Okay, it's very interesting. Now, here's the other thing, the other point, and then I'll turn it over to you again. I thought near the end of this interview, when he got into firing these coaches, that he almost lost it. He almost lost his emotions. I thought he was going to cry. I really thought
he sounded like that last 5 press conferences.
He was
sounds
on
like he's
the verge, and I'm wondering this, KV, and to our viewers. Is Mike Norvell tough enough to compete at the standards that this university and the fan base want? Because in this business, which this isn't the football of old, Coach Norvell, this is business football. This is big money football. And people are going to come and go like they do in a commercial business, okay? People come and go all the time. There's accountability for your actions. But you can't just sit on people that aren't holding up their end of accountability, be it coaches or players. And I keep hearing on the chatter this week that people going, I didn't expect Alex Atkins to go out the door. What? He's the one that should have gone out the door in the first one in the boat. This is not personal against these guys, but accountability. He's the OC, whether that was name only. You put the name on him, Mike. OC and OL. We are the worst in the country by statistics, not by just my opinion. The worst in the history of Florida State football. Even the 1973 team wasn't this bad that went 0-11. So for Mike, I don't know if he has the strength to be able to bring people in and out as needed. He's stuck with these guys 4, 5, 6 years. He cannot just sit back. He cannot just sit back and watch the thing fall apart. And he says, I kind of was watching it fall apart. Well, then you need to make moves. If you're bleeding, you need to put a stop to it. I don't know if he has what it takes to be a truly championship caliber coach based on the emotions I saw in this presser.
Well, that's I agree with you, and I think a lot of people agree. The last 6 or 7 pressers, he's looked, like you said, on the edge of tears. And you compare that to, remember after the Jacksonville State game or whatever it was, when he said, we got to build this out, people are going to leave. But remember that press conference everyone reflects back to 2 or 3 years ago when we lost that game, and he's like, he got angry, and it was anger, and he's like, this is not what we wanted to do, but we're going to build it back the right way. But it was emotion, it was passion, it was anger. And you kind of look at these press conferences and you kind of see like sadness. And you see a guy that looks like he's about to cry a little bit. And that's the thing that scares me, like you said, is does he even believe in himself that he can do it? Does he believe that he's capable of doing it? Does he believe that the administration thinks he can do it, right? And that's the thing. Or does he know that they're stuck in a hole that they can't get him out of, and they can't get rid of him? They would have gotten rid of him. So, he's in a tough spot in that, because if he doesn't feel like the people around him believe in him, it's a very weird scenario, because I think he knows if there wasn't a $60 million parachute around him, he would be gone right now. And so, and you see some of this. People are calling him a lame duck coach for the next year, because unless he turns it around, he could be gone next year, because the buyout gets, $15 million smaller, and it gets smaller and smaller every year. And so, on the flip side of that, it's going to be harder for him. And people have brought this up on other podcasts. I think Bud Elliott did on the Nolecast yesterday. Are there elite coaches that are going to want to uproot their life and their family's lives to go work for a year for a lame duck coach? Would you? If you're a A-tier coach in the NFL, or at say, because they're some of the top targets are the guys at Indiana, the assistants at Indiana that Mark Norvell has close relationships with. He may target them to come to Florida State. Are those guys going to want to uproot their lives, their families, and potentially work for a one-year coach? It's a tough sell. It's a really tough sell. I'm telling you, this isn't like turning around a team that's 4-8 or 5-8, because at least this is the worst team in college football. This is the worst team maybe ever in college football.
You could be right.
And you have to sell that you may have 1 year left as a coach at Florida State. And I think that's a hard pitch. That's going to be a hard pitch to a lot of coaches, a lot of good coaches that want to come in. Unless Mike Norvell is willing to give some of his salary back and say, I'll pay you a lot of money if you're willing to come in here and build this back with me.
You know what he should have said today? It would have been perfect. And I've said this a little bit before. This would have been the perfect press conference to say, listen, this is a horrible season. I'm fully responsible. I had to let some people go today, and there may be more to follow, okay? But you know what? I'm also part of the problem here, and I've got to do a better job, and I'm going to open my wallet, and I'm going to take a pay cut. I'm going to take a pay cut. I'm going to restructure the contract a little bit for my season. I'll take $5 million this season because I have faith and I've got to work and I'm going to put it in. And you guys can take the $5 million off the contract and put it wherever you want to put it. You can put it back into the program, into NIL, whatever we need. That's what I wanted to hear from a guy that's really bought into this. Or is he so bought in? I'm not changing my money. The hell with that. But you guys keep putting in your $50 to the battle's end. You guys keep, doing other things with your money. But here's a guy making $10 million. And yes, we have a right to comment and criticize people who are making this kind of money. And, I heard people saying, everybody's beating up Mike. The guy's making $10 million.
This
isn't personal. This isn't about him. This isn't about his family. It's not about the players, the coaches that have been released. This is unbelievable. What kind of people do we know? He makes so much more than a president of the United States makes. It's incredible how much these coaches are made. They have to be held accountable. And because of the parachute, which we've talked about, without that, he's gone. No other program, no top 20 program.
No corporation
would put up with this.
If
That's
this
right.
A corporation that was a 1-9 corporation, one that is basically bankrupt,
that
gone.
Lost
all their money, he would be gone. And it's sad to say because, like people are mentioning, he won an ACC championship last year, but that makes it even worse, guys. that you won an ACC championship last year.
And you can't keep building. Yeah.
You go from basically the number 5 team in the country to the worst team in the country.
Yeah,
That shows that there's no plan. There is no development.
Right.
There is no foundation. That's the scary part. That's why I think it's worse that you did that. Because there was no foundation
And
to sustain it.
Nobody's pushed him, like in this press conference, to say, Mike, you keep mentioning a plan. Can you give us an idea what the plan is? I suspect that the firing of these 3 coaches was part of that plan. Can you give us an idea? Can you give the fans an idea where this plan is going?
I don't,
because plan is just words, and you're going to have a lot of people speculating now. What is that plan? What is that plan? And anybody who says out here as a talking head that they know what it is because they have insiders is full of shit, because they don't. They don't. No guy on the inside wants to keep his job is going to start leaking stuff out.
No.
Okay.
No. So we can look at some of the reaction to what's happened, and see what some of the fans think, because there was some interesting Twitter reactions to this. And
isn't it funny? We're not even talking about the last game. I mean, there's nothing to talk about there except we didn't really. Let me say this before, as you get your reaction. The game was this. We're looking to try to figure out who's going to be the quarterback in 25 and 26 potentially. We got no answer there because these guys were running for their lives. They're young, they're inexperienced, and the offensive line is the worst in the history of Florida State football. That's their legacy. And they can't block anybody. They can't just line up man on man. No, make it as simple as possible. If there's a guy in front of you, that's the guy you block. They couldn't do it. The rushing game went well in the first quarter, but it just disappeared. And the quarterbacks, how many sacks were there? 7, 8, 9, 7 or 8 sacks? It's a new sack record. Mike Norvell has set more disappointing records this season than any coach in FSU football history. And all he has to account for it is one ACC championship, which we basically, I don't want to say lucky to win. We won it on defense. We didn't win it on offense. Yeah. We did not win it on offense.
It's not lucky.
Okay.
They earned that championship.
But what I'm saying is that's all he's got to hang his hat on. So he has not proven himself.
No, he can hang his hat on. But ACC championships are the standard at Florida State. It shouldn't be, we win one of those every 4 years. That's the standard at Clemson.
That's what Bobby Bowden's standard was.
That is the basic standard of coaching at Florida State. It should be you're contending for that every single year, not once every 3 years. Every single year, you should be going to the ACC title. That's how it was most years under Jimbo before he let it go out, over the rail, fall off the rails. Under Bowden, that was the standard. You go there every year. You know, that is the standard at Florida State. You should be competing for an ACC title minimum every single year. It shouldn't be up and down, up and down, up and down. You have to be competing for that, because it's not like you're playing Oregon and USC and Michigan and you're not playing the toughest conference. This year specifically, the ACC sucks this year. I mean, there's 1-2 teams, SMU, this is not a tough conference, and we can only get one win in this conference this year. It's sad, because once again, if there was any foundation in this team, any talent foundation, any coaching foundation, this could have been another repeat year of last year. Nobody can argue with that. To me, look at Clemson. They're 7-2. Pitt's 7-2. Miami got exposed this weekend finally. This conference is wide open once again. I think it's even worse than last year.
Now, let's say this. I looked ahead. I took a peek at the 25 schedule. All right? And besides the opener with Alabama, which we'll lose at home, okay? Likely loss.
I'm not
that the rest of the schedule. But when I peek ahead, you could start out 0-1. The next two are wins. They're Kent State and somebody else that I don't even remember. So you're 2-1. You could possibly be 3-1, okay, pretty early on. And I can see it now. We're back. Oh, we've rebuilt. But if you look at the schedule, then once we get into the meat of the schedule is really we're going to find out what this team is made out of. But besides Alabama, the first couple of games after that, not real tough. Not real tough. So this team could easily, in my opinion, should have the talent if they have the proper coaching, could get to a bowl game. Is that the standard?
No. The standard is...
The standard is... But we're in a rebuild. So what is the standard in a rebuild?
I don't give a shit if it's a rebuild, if it's a version 2, whatever the fuck you want to call it. ACC titles are the standard at Florida State. If you can't live up to it, you're gone. That's the playbook.
Okay, so his buyout drops like 10 or 15,000 after 25. He's still going to have a hell of a chunk of money you're going to owe him.
Well, if he cannot, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not predicting wins and losses next year because a lot of things, roster overalls change. We see what teams can do. I'm not predicting wins and losses next year yet. But if we are not in contention for an ACC title next year, there needs to be a strong conversation about his future. That's all I'm going to say. But I want to see the moves and his plan. I'm not writing off Mike Norvell yet because I'm going to give him.
It.
Okay, well, we're not. We shouldn't be having this conversation yet.
No,
we have a whole offseason.
I said I took a look ahead at the schedule. I see at best a possible toilet bowl because you're going to have 5 to 6 wins, and then for Mike, he's probably saying, "Okay, we're doing much better. We're on the road now. We're getting there. We got a bowl game, and so on." A rebuild, I don't see him flipping this thing that he's competing for the ACC.
If he gets 8 wins and he has a top 5 recruiting class, by all means keep him. But if we have another number 15, 20 recruiting class and 7 wins, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
I think there's enough talent on this team if we can get a quarterback and an offensive line. I really do. There's enough returning defense players that if we can move the football and score points, we're now at 13.3 points per game. We're totally last. We're behind Kent State.
We suck. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But I do believe he is going to have to go into the portal and get a quarterback. That's part of the plan. They're going to have to go into the portal, and if it ticks off Brock Glenn and what's his name? Who's our other guy? Luke. Yeah. If it pisses him off, I understand. Each player is going to have to assess their own needs and what they need to do at the end of the season.
Well, at the end of the day, whoever the offensive coordinator is, I want him to pick the guy that he wants for that offense. That's what I care about.
You think if you came in as an experienced OC, and you better bring in an experienced OC that kind of has a good track record, if not, the fans are going to tear it apart. That guy's going to want the quarterback he's going to want to go get.
It could be the guy. It could be the quarterback from his existing team.
It could be. Exactly. It could be exactly that. Okay, to do a quick flip, that's what you're going to need. Luke and Brock are not going to engineer a quick flip to compete for an ACC championship. It's not there because it's difficult to rebuild an offensive line at any level. You think you're just going to go out and grab 5 starting offensive linemen?
You're going to have to. I mean, you're going to have to take some risks. You're going to have to take some risks.
Who in the O-line room right now is a starter next year?
None. I mean, maybe Jalen Early. He's got a lot of playing. You're going to have to hope he develops on the offseason. Gets better. No.
I mean, he's got more experience than most of those guys.
You're going to have to hope. You're going to have to hope early. You're going to have to hope that what's his face, who's played a lot, hasn't played well.
But you're right about what you say. You get the right OC. He brings his quarterback with him. Maybe he brings a couple of the receivers with him.
Well, that's the thing. With an OC, if they like that OC and the players like him, you can hope he poaches linemen, receivers.
Yeah, you got to. It's free agency.
But that's the
Every
thing.
year's free
If you
agency.
make the right hire, but that's the trouble if you go for an NFL. So that's the thing with the coaching search. He says he's got a lot of guys looking at the job, which could be bullshit. That could be a way of getting people to look at the job. But if he picks an NFL guy, well, then you're probably not going to get you obviously aren't going to get players to transfer in. So I think it's more advantageous that you go for a college coach. Now, the college coaches that you may be looking at, the elite guys, well, they're not going to leave you if they're going to the college football playoff. The rumors are that he's looking at coaches at Indiana staff, assistants at Indiana staff, and they look like they're going to the college football playoff. So you're not going to be able to get access to them through December.
Mid-January, yeah.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And
that's
early signing period.
which is kind of, early sign is pretty dead.
It's not the same. as it used to be.
But you'll have to delay that search until then. So it's how he'll have to make a decision. Am I willing to wait this out and hope that they are willing to commit? Or do I go for somebody else that I may, a mid-tier guy that's available now that their team's not going to make it, and I get him and he brings his guys in? I think he's got to weigh the players around that coach and potential of those guys transferring. I think he's got to be strategic like that and see what players are around that coach could bring in along with their development
and the recruiting of the areas. Why don't we ever recruit linemen, defense and offense, from the Midwest? We never have coaches that come out of that area where some of the best linemen come out of the Midwest. They don't necessarily come out of the Southeast. We get skilled guys out of the Southeast, but the tough-nosed linemen generally come out of that Midwest area, and we never get a guy out of there. We need to expand into those areas if you want to be a national caliber championship program year in and year out. You got to do that. Let's swing this back a little bit now. What other coaches do you think are on the hot seat, really, reality-wise?
I think Randy Shannon's going to get a chance to show what he's had. I think Randy Shannon has saved himself in that the linebackers have played a little bit above expectation this year. They haven't played great, but they played above expectation. I think Omar Graham,
he hasn't brought in stud linebackers. He's brought in a couple. I saw Sean Murphy out there again. That was good to see.
But the younger guys have played above their star rating. I think they played, like Omar Graham has played above his star rating. I think Justin Cryer has played above his star. He's getting more out of guys than what we expected. And I think that has shown. He hasn't recruited well. I mean, Blake Nicholson was a high-end recruit. He hasn't played phenomenally yet. But we're starting to see some development out of certain guys that I don't think we maybe.
I agree.
And so I think that's keeping around. And I think now, and also, if you got rid of him, who's going to run your defense too? I don't think Randy Shannon's necessarily off the table for being fired. But I think now Mike wants to see, well, Randy, you've run a defense before. You're capable of doing it. Let's see you implement your system for the last 3 games and see if anything changes. I think it's a little bit of a trial for him. I don't think he's completely safe, but maybe he would. I don't know. Maybe go into an analyst role, but I think Mike also wants someone that can keep some continuity for the last 3 games, kind of like what Odell used to do when coaches would get fired here. I don't think Odell's off the table either. Honestly, I think they're trying to figure out a plan for Odell to make it graciously let him go.
Right.
Because Odell, I know Odell Duke. They're both legacies. Odell is like the OG guy. You got to figure out a way to let him go nicely, and I think they're trying to figure that out.
He's like Coach Hamilton in basketball.
Exactly. They're trying to figure out a way to let. And once again, you got to figure out a way to who's going to take over that position.
You let him down easy.
Exactly.
Let him down easy.
And I don't know if Odell is one of your big. The 3 guys that let go were two of the 3 biggest earners on the team. So that also is let's get rid of them. We'll figure out the financials. But they need to go. They're the top earners on the staff. They got to go because they're definitely not cutting their weight. So I think that makes the most sense. I think this may be a tryout though for Randy to see if you retain him. But I agree. Randy's not recruiting up to his weight, but he may be getting more development out of his players than any of those other position groups for what it's worth. So maybe they keep him on staff in a different role, analyst. I don't know.
You know what got me, too, a little bit in that game, back to the game a little bit, is they kept putting so much pressure on Alex Mastermano, our punter. which he had unlimited opportunities, obviously.
Yeah.
And they kept getting there. They kept getting closer the first couple times. Then they started to get a finger on the ball. Then they get a hand. I'm going to myself, don't they see this? Why didn't we make any adjustments to offset some of this pressure on him? I mean, you could just see it building. They're going to get to a punt, and they eventually did. Okay?
Yeah.
It was like, and then he got asked about that, I believe, or somebody got asked about it. I think Norvell, right after the game, got asked about it. He goes, well, the communication, the checks at the line, when they overstack, which teams do. This isn't something new. They overstacked, and we didn't get the shifts in. What the hell is that? That's just bad coaching. That's just bad coaching is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're making it too complicated. I think the system, I said this some weeks ago, I think the system is too complicated. I think the systems they're trying to get these guys to do, they can't grasp it. And when you can't grasp it, it also takes a hit on your ability to play. And I believe that's some of the problem. I think the offensive line schemes are too complicated. They can't perform these pulling guard shit. I watched a couple of those plays. Time the guy gets out there, the running back's gone. It's like nothing. And you should be able to line up and go hat on hat with guys and keep them out. And they struggle with that. They can't do it.
Well, and I've said this all year. I said they've not adjusted well to their personnel. The offense really hasn't adapted to the talent or the abilities of their personnel this year. And I think, once again, that comes into why they need to bring in an OC. Mike Norvell can't do it. Alex Atkins couldn't do it. They need someone who's just solely focused on what's working, what's not working, adjust the play calling, and let's do better. I thought the first quarter for Florida State was okay. I thought they, once again, defense played well.
Of course, the first half was okay.
Yeah, no, and that's what surprised me. But then the wheels
except
fell
the
off.
ending of the first half, there was a little shaky.
That was. I thought the first quarter specifically, the offense looked. There was a lot of. They were executing pretty
the
okay.
rushing game was working. They had 65 yards in the first quarter.
They kept Notre Dame off their heels. They weren't trying to force it in the middle, run it down the middle. They were, sideline to sideline. They were doing things correctly. We just, once again, you couldn't get it going for 4 quarters. You couldn't get it go through the air. You couldn't get the short passing game going to open up the long pass or the running lanes. And one thing I do have to say, because this is probably going to piss people off to that. I think you have to find a running back next year because you're going to lose Toafili, who I think Toafili is a very good player. I don't think Cam Davis, I know he didn't play. He's been hurt. I like Cam Davis. I do not think he can be your running back 1 next year unless he gets faster. In this age of college football, you need a shifty running back who can also take a hit.
Singleton.
Like Singleton. I don't think.
I thought he had a good game.
Yes.
I thought he played tough.
Watching Cam Davis this year, he's not shifty enough at this point, I don't think, to be your number 1 running back. He's a bulldozer. He goes straight forward. He can run. He can run for 4 or 5 yards, but he's not shifty enough in my eyes yet to be a home run back. And that's what an offense that has a weak offensive line, they need a guy that can see a hole and jump right through it. And Cam Davis isn't in that development cycle yet. Maybe in this offseason, he gets faster, his agility gets there. He's still adjusting. He was a true freshman. I get that. But if he's not there yet, I think you have to have a guy, either Sam Singleton or someone else.
You got Dancy, too, haven't seen much of him.
But I think it would be a mistake to thrust Cam Davis as the number 1 guy because I think you need a bounce back who can see the hole and explode through it, especially if an offensive line next year is going to be a weakness for you. You need some guy that's able to bounce off and bounce through the hole or bounce to the edge quickly. Because Cam Davis is going to have to break through 4 tackles because he's not as explosive as those guys. Do I want Cam Davis to be here next year? Yes. I want Cam Davis back next year because I think he brings a lot to the table. I just don't know if he can be your lead carrier, especially behind a poor offensive line. If we had a lead offensive line, Cam Davis would be running through the hole and just bulldozing guys. He'd be great. But
I think Singleton could be that guy. I was impressed by his play. I thought he ran hard behind a crappy offensive line, and I thought he got his touches. I don't know what his final yards were. It really doesn't matter. But I could tell he was dragging people with him. He played really hard. This is the guy who wants to play. he might be the answer to that, but you still might need another guy. I don't know about Dancy. Dancy doesn't look as sturdy. He looks fast.
True freshman.
No, I know.
True freshman.
Once he gets through, I think if he bursts through a hole, he's gone. He's a real speedster. But I think Singleton could be that lead back. I really do.
Yeah, and if he's sick, and hopefully we retain these guys. They get bigger, they get stronger, they get faster.
Because I don't know what elite running back in this country would come in here behind an unknown offensive line.
No, it'd be tough.
Why would you do that?
You did have Cam Akers behind one of the worst offensive lines.
He did,
in the country, and he took a beating. And he earned it. He took a beating every single week.
He earned
Ridiculous.
it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the other thing we got to think about is that, I mean, this, we were talking about turnaround and can it happen, stuff like that. And I keep going back, in the NIL era, this can happen. You can rebuild, and I think the transfer portal is going to be interesting this year with Mike Norvell, and that's probably part of his big plans. Because look at Indiana.
Oh, it has to be.
Indiana. Oh, it's going to be, but it's going to be to an extreme level. It's going to be to the extreme
It could
level.
be like a Coach Prime at Colorado.
No,
it could be 25, 30 players.
Indiana took 50 transfers.
They
They are the number 8 team in the country this year. 50
They took
transfers.
50 transfers.
Yes. And now look where they are.
And you know what they did? They probably styled it just like, I don't want to say an NFL camp, but they brought in, everything's open, fellas. It's all who practices the best.
But we're not talking about they got the most elite. I mean, you got guys from Kent State, UMass. You got a lot from JMU.
Hungry guys.
School.
Hungry guys.
Austin P, Troy, Old Dominion. You got a lot of guys from JMU, obviously, since their head coach was from there. But but this coach knew this conference. He knew the guys he played against.
He knew
a lot of these schools that Old Dominion they played
saw
against
they
a
could
lot.
play.
He saw that they could play, and he went after that. And that's what. Hopefully, the coaches you bring in, they scout some of these players on these teams who may be under the radar.
That's what the off-the-field football operations staff is supposed to be doing.
And you get some dogs who
multiple positions there of people supposed to be evaluating the talent all year, KB. They should be looking at this all year because everybody is a free agent.
Yeah.
Everybody on everybody's roster. So you're going out to fill positions of need, which we have a lot. Okay, and so we have to go get them.
Yeah, and now, like I said, I'm not coming out here to say Indiana's played the toughest schedule in the country, but like you said, Florida State has Alabama, which is going to be obviously very tough. But once again, you're not playing the Big Ten or SEC yet. You're not playing a ranked team every other week. If you set up I think they're going to have to overhaul much of this roster. If you bring in some guys that you know that can play. At a basic level, have the fundamentals, have the experience. Sometimes I think we may look in the wrong places. We think they all have to come from a major conference, but look at the Indiana playbook. They got guys that they knew could perform, and they were from the Sun Belt Conference. They were from, they were from the smaller conferences, but they had experience. They had the basic fundamentals. They had the talent. They just were under the radar a little bit, and the coach at Indiana saw this, brought them in, and look where they are. He raised the floor of that program from 3-9 last year to now most likely going to the college football playoff. Now, they may get smashed once they get there because they haven't really played a ranked team yet. But we would take that as long as you're raising the talent floor, raising the profile again, and then you can recruit at a higher level.
Well, I think it goes back to you can't be a squirrel, even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then. You can't have one great season and the rest be inconsistent.
No.
That's not what the standard of this program is. Okay, it's building. We thought Mike Norvell was building a program when he reached 13-0. Okay, we get snubbed by play. That's all past news. Okay, so we expect you're now competing. We said this at the beginning. We're going to be competing in the ACC game to get into the playoffs. And the ceiling fell out. So we go back to poor player development and evaluation. I mean, and that's hard to put numbers on, but it was very easy to put those numbers on Alex Atkins because all the numbers are on his side of the house. But that's going to be the key. I want a long, sustained buildup of a program that lasts 5-10 years. I don't want I think I think he's selling, we're going to win tomorrow again. I think that's what he's selling in his speech in the presser today. We're going to turn this around, and we're going to do it quick. He used that word 2 or 3 times. You go back and look. We're going to do it quick. We're going to do it quick.
Well,
now, what does that mean? And fans are expecting more than a 5 or 6 win season. But he's going to sell that as, see, we're already at a bowl game. So in 26, we expect to be competing at the ACC. I think the odds are really against in 25 for Florida State to be competing for an ACC championship. Now, there are talking heads out there that think I'm totally wrong. They do believe that if SMU is kind of the standard, in the league, they're kind of the top dog, or Clemson, that you can go out there and compete with them right away if you bring in the right guys. The question about 30 guys, if you say 25, where are you going to get those slots? Where's the attrition?
Once again,
we'll do that on another show.
I could do it right now. I could do it right now.
How do you can't just run a guy off that's on scholarship.
You essentially,
I don't know if you can legally.
Scholarships are 1-year deals.
You're saying you could pull the guy's scholarship? Do you think if Mike Norvell can't fire $1 million coaches, can he go to a family and a kid and say, your scholarship's gone, you just suck, you're out?
I can say we're not paying you anymore.
You think most of those guys are getting paid that much? I'm talking about the guy that's not a real strong contributor. He hasn't developed. You may not be able to just grab his scholarship. That's another question. People want to bring in 30 guys. You got to create space. That's another show as we look at the roster. But you have to understand the legalities of scholarships.
Athletic scholarships are year to year.
Based on what? Performance?
No, that's how they're.
It says that for any reason I can just pull it from a guy.
I'm pretty.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure they're yearly.
Mike Norvell, if he had a bad time getting rid of Alex Atkins, where the numbers said he needs to go, he's going to have a much harder time pulling 30 scholarships from kids and their families.
Why?
You think he's got the backbone for that?
I don't know if he does.
Well, he's going to be the one that has to do it. He's the football coach. So I think it's a very intriguing and interesting thing he says. I got a plan, quick turnaround. And if somebody if somebody thinks I'm wrong, go listen to the tape. That's what he's selling. You think he could sell? No, this is going to take a while. He's not going to sell that.
No.
That's not going to put people in seats. He's got a whole new stadium to fill in. All this new fan environment to fill up.
Yeah.
But I think this is what I'm intrigued by, KB. I'm intrigued by how is this going to take place. I think it's fascinating.
I just wanted to be clear, because I thought I had in my head that it was year to year, and this athletic scholarship site says this means scholarships. At the end of the year, scholarships are renewed by the coach and athletic department, provided that you remain eligible throughout the year. If you are allowed on the athletic scholarship for up to 5 years in your college career. College are able to adjust the amount of the scholarship at the end of each year when it expires. When it expires, that means you can increase, decrease, or get canceled altogether. So once again, everyone thinks that they get a 4-year ride. Yeah. It's not. They can cancel it.
Okay.
It's up to the
coach.
If you're laying up to do stuff like that. So it's not a 4-year ride. And I think that's also like. And also, too, even if if this article's wrong, if I tell you, son, you are not going to play ever again. Like, how do you think Dion got rid of all those guys? Like, son, you're not going to play here.
Dion is not Norvell.
I understand.
Dion understands the professional mind and the business aspect that Norvell has not grasped.
But that's where I think you have to have someone on your staff that's like that. Goes to the player and says, "You're gone.
Dion,
you're not going to play here. You're not going to play here."
Dion put it on tape. Everybody laughed at him.
Well, I don't think you need.
He said, "Listen,
I don't think you need to do it on tape."
Dion went into the meetings and he said, "Listen, I'm bringing my son. He's the quarterback, and a lot of you guys aren't going to be here."
Yeah, well, I don't know if you need to do it on tape to do it.
No, but I'm not saying it has to be on tape.
That's like me firing my sales department on tape to make a statement.
That doesn't. Listen. all I'm saying is that's the mentality it takes to rebuild any organization, be it a commercial business. Do you think the CEOs go in, he gets hired, he goes in, and he starts closing down stores that affect people's lives?
Well, like I just said,
The
Indiana guy did 50 transfers. You didn't even know about it, but he did it.
No, I didn't know that.
So you can do it closed door, open door. You just do it. You just do it. You have to overhaul, though. You have to be willing to make the change for change to happen.
Do you think Norvell has that backbone to do that?
If he wants to save his legacy, he better. Because if he doesn't, this is what he'll be known for collapsing the Florida State football program. He won't be remembered for one ACC championship.
I think it'll be fascinating. Now, at the end of the year, like the pro teams do, they always have exit interviews. Most professional teams, that's what they do. They have exit interviews with every player and every coach, and they tell them where they see them.
They do that in college.
This is where we see you. We don't see you as a starter on this team next year. Perhaps, you know what I mean? And start going through that, and we'll do another show on that. I think that'll be fascinating as we go through the roster and see who's coming back and who do you want back. It's not who's coming back, as you just defined. Who do we want back on this roster? Now, some guys who feel they can leverage the market are going to try to leverage the market out of here. And we'll see. So
no one on this team has leverage. I don't know who.
Well, some guys could. Zary Thomas, he might have some leverage. There's always teams looking for good cornerbacks. You don't think he could? I think the cornerbacks, the defensive backs on his team, there's some talent there. But you can't cover a guy forever if there's no pass rush, which we have no pass rush. Now, we'll see the pass rush against Charleston Southern. Okay, and now everybody's going to be back, and Mike's going to get out there, and Mike's going to say, "Hey, this is what I expected. We have played to the standard." And when he does that, you know what he's doing?
It's too late for that.
He's basically making himself look like a fool.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
They just fired coaches. They're not going to be doing that. They're not going to be doing that. Let's go through some of the reactions on Twitter this week. This week, if you're a season ticket holder, you probably got an email asking to renew your tickets. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think that was a good timing, firing the coaches? I think that's actually better. Was
there an increase in the tickets price?
I'm not a season ticket person, but remember because
they
did all the renovations, and next year is their debut of the new stadium. So it's probably the worst timing for them. So it is a little coincidental because if they sent that email out before the changes with coaches have been made, people would have been like, fuck no, I'm not renewing. Why am I going to renew to this staff and this coaching? This is terrible. But they made the firings, sent the emails out to say, change is coming, new stadium, all that. So it is a little coincidental that those two things happen.
You have some experience in those areas of selling.
Well, yeah, I mean,
products.
This is the best time for them to.
Product.
I either would have done it now with the fire. I probably would have waited till some new staff, but new staff probably aren't coming on until December. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
You know what I heard about that is when they sent out this letter that it wasn't signed by any staff member. Like it wasn't signed by Alford. It wasn't signed by Norvell. It wasn't signed by the booster president. There was no signature.
That's weird.
You know? My understanding is they made some personal calls to the largest booster supporters.
Which they should. Okay.
They should. And they're trying to, they're trying to hold that base, right? But you know, people want to know what the hell the plan is. And
I mean, you're hosting Alabama at home to debut the stadium.
And if you get blown up in that game, if you don't compete. Now, there's a difference between getting blown up and competing.
Yeah.
And competing. Competing against top 20 teams. We went out and competed. We lost by 3.
That's the biggest home.
Now we're seeing some development.
This is going to be the biggest home game you've probably had.
Crazy.
Since, I don't know.
Crazy.
I don't know. It's anyone who's listening. Is this probably the biggest brand you've hosted since?
No, I remember a game, a big brand was when we hosted back in the 70s, maybe the late 60s. I can't remember the date. You can look it up. When we hosted Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, wait a minute. University of Pittsburgh, the quarterback was Dan Marino. You ever heard of Dan Marino?
Yes, I've heard of Dan.
And the running back was like Tony Dorsett.
Yeah.
Okay, now I could be a little off here on my facts. And we beat them, I believe. If I remember correctly, we had a great cornerback named J.T. Thomas. Okay? He was one of the first African American football players who had just coming in our program. This guy was an elite cornerback, one of the best ever. Maybe not as flamboyant as Dion, but I would say, and not many people know his name. You look up J.T. Thomas. He went on to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers and won like 3 rings with them, playing, not sitting on the bench. Okay, yeah. J.T. Thomas, and to me, that was one of the biggest home games that was played in Dokan. I remember it. Oh my God, the hype. Tony, you know who Tony Dorsett is? Yeah. Played for the Cowboys all those years. Is this before your birth? I mean, it's like, oh my God, Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, J.T. Thomas for us. Florida State played their ass off. And in those years too, these are prior to Bobby Bowden. Florida State went on the road to Alabama, and took the Tide to the wire. I can't remember if we won or lost the game. I listened to it on an AM radio. It was unbelievable. And guess who the Bama quarterback was? Who? Kenny Stabler, the Snake Stabler. If you ever heard of him, played for the Oakland Raiders, and that game everybody plays, Madden, he played for John Madden. Yeah. Okay, this is how far back I go to listening to games. So this thing I've been seeing this season, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Not this bad. And I was through the 73 season.
All right, well,
it's tough.
But
I'm focused on the rebuild.
Okay. I think the last, I was going to say biggest brand, probably was Notre Dame, I would say. I can't remember what they were ranked.
Oh, when Notre Dame came in. Yeah, I was at the game. You were at the game, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think I was at that one.
I was at the game. I sat right behind, who's that basketball announcer, famous guy? No, he's a color guy. No, he's bald-headed.
Jimmy, was it Jimmy?
He's got cancer.
Dick Vitale.
Dick Vitale. And I talked to Dick Vitale. I got my picture taken with Dick Vitale. And I said to Dick Vitale, we were sitting right down. We had great seats. I said, the first play of the game, Notre Dame had the ball. Our cornerbacks came up 1-on-1. And I said, they're going to throw a long ball. And the hell if they didn't. The guy caught the ball, and Notre Dame went in for a touchdown. And you know what? I ended up attending Catholic Mass at the convention center that Notre Dame rented to have Catholic Mass.
Maybe I was at that game. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was a huge, huge game.
So I think that was the last big brand game that we've had.
Yeah,
I can remember because we didn't host LSU.
Miami Miami and Gators are always big games.
But I think out of the conference. Yeah. All right, more other next NFL head coach.
Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah.
NFL coach interested in OC. Mike Norvell did say there was NFL interest. Billy Taggart, running back coach, he could come back.
No way.
Mark Norvell says there's tremendous interest in open roles from coaches, including
no way. Now let's talk about OC. Let's talk about OC for a minute. The other change that Norvell will make is he will give up play calling duties because the discussion at chatter was, well, if you talk to an OC, he's going to ask you, am I calling the plays? Is it my offense, or is it you want me to run your offense but I call the plays?
Yeah.
How is this going to work? Yeah. Because the guys coming in also have careers. They don't want to look like fools. But any OC coming in now, when you're last out of 135 teams in the country, you can't get it. You can't get any worse.
Well, this is what Norvell
said about. You couldn't do any worse.
This is what Norvell said. He said he's open to an OC hire, bringing his own offense in with him being the primary play caller. Everything is on the table, Mike.
No, he is going to do that. He's going to shift that responsibility.
I don't know why that's not just a gift. Like, he's making it sound like it's on the table. Mike, you have to do that.
How do you call the plays like Mike does? In the NFL, I see these guys, they got these huge play sheets. You ever see Andy Reid with Kansas City? He's got a damn play sheet. He's got colors and all this. Mike doesn't have any. They must just be in his head.
I just don't get, like
Do
you
you
said,
see what I'm saying?
an OC's not going to come in and just be your stooge, Mike. Like, they're not going to come in and not call their own plays. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, I don't understand it.
Well, I think if the OC they're looking at, whoever they interview, and there'll be several, I'm sure, is an OC is just not going to lay down for him. He's going to say, no, I have to do it my way as the OC. And somebody said, well, maybe he could be O-line coach. I don't want to be O-line coach. You get an O-line guy to do that shit. I want my offense run. I'm going to recruit guys to come in and play it, and I'm calling the plays. That's my deal. And I want $2 million to do it. Okay? And you can put incentives in there.
Do you agree with Ira from More Chance statement here? Firing good people is the worst. I bet Norvell has been feeling crushed by both the team's failures and also knowing this day would come. That's a ton of stress. It's only the beginning of changes, I'm sure, but it could actually give him a chance to breathe now. I thought this was a great response to that.
Read my response. I responded.
Ira, I agree, but this happens daily in every well-run organization, regardless of the business.
Yes.
It's not ideal, but the product requires the leader to remove emotion and look out for the brand, plain and simple. This was the great statement. You can't this is dumb. This is just ass kissing bullshit.
This is. I think some guys are playing roles now. You know, they got the good cop, bad cop. Read my response. I sent a response.
I don't see your response anywhere.
My response is there. If you
Probably
find
blocked.
it.
Probably blocked.
No, it's not blocked. What are you talking about?
Norvell gets $10 million a season with a multi-million-dollar parachute. Are FSU fans supposed to feel sorry about his grieving process? He's better toughen up. Please stop your hugs and kisses.
I mean, read it.
I did.
Please stop the hugs and kisses.
Please stop the hugs and kisses for FSU.
You know, every guy
FSU
that comes
fans,
in here, the last big hug and kisses went out to, what's his name? Our lineman, that he was going to light it up. Who was the guy?
Robert Scott.
No. Oh, my God. No. What's his name? We can't even remember the name.
The Pope.
No. He's on the sideline, 72. He's always on the sideline. He was going to Armella. What is going on with Armella? Everybody, he was the next
Probably going to leave with Atkins.
ACC guy. That whole room could leave. We'll just rebuild. Let's hope that whole room leaves.
Well, to talk about that, there's another comment that got posted today. He turned this team around. He will find a better opportunity. First man to give me an opportunity as well. Wishing the best luck to you, coach. The funny about this is that this is a prospect who committed to Oregon. He's not even committed to Florida State. And he's saying this. People are saying, like, bro, aren't you committed to another school, right? Like, you couldn't even.
What the hell?
You're not even committed to.
I mean,
like this guy says. He goes, aren't you committed to Oregon, right?
This stuff is crazy. You cannot. Listen. We cannot do like the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes Norvell did is he plays these games.
No, it's not Norvell.
Well, we'll make Alex Atkins also the OC who does nothing as an OC. Does nothing.
This is
but
not
you
Norvell.
Can't just put labels on people.
You need good. You don't just need good people. You need good recruiters. You need good developers. It's not. People are like, oh, he's a good guy. I don't get it's not about that in football. You need good recruiters.
Okay, let's talk about Solomon Thomas. Do you think he sticks? Do you think he stays?
He says that. He says.
Well, you know what? He may be thinking, I can start next year.
He says
I can be
a division of Florida State.
I can be a 3-year starter on this team.
If you're
Solomon, let me talk to Solomon Thomas right now. If you're as good as those stars kind of show you might be, if you really this good and you can dominate people, you got a starting job on Florida State line. And if you can't come in and crack that line, then you're not that good. You're not as good as everybody says you are.
Okay? He was pissed earlier today.
Well, he's going to leverage them for money. I'll tell you that. And there's a lot of fakes out there. These stars are not what we would call a real well
it's tough.
evaluated stars. My
O-line.
understanding is you go to enough camps, you'll get enough stars.
No.
But if you can't go to a camp, you can't afford, or your parents can't drive you to all these camps and fly you to these camps, then you don't get any stars. Okay?
Well,
you don't get no stars.
Well, once again, the more
and you could be a hard-nosed football guy with no stars. We got to go find the guys that are hungry, that are dogs, that want to eat, as Dion says. And Dion is doing a pretty damn good job out of Colorado right now. Okay? He's doing a pretty damn good job. And he has fired coaches, he's fired players, and he has rebuilt things out there. Okay? And he's done it his way. I'm doing it my way. I don't know what Mike's way is besides a lot of word salad, emotions. You don't know how hard it is to dismiss these guys. They're leaving with hundreds of thousands of dollars yet to be paid to them and millions of dollars. I'm not cold-hearted, but this is big business now. Big business.
But I think retaining this guy, regardless if you can start there or whether or not, is important.
Can Mike keep this guy? Can Mike keep this guy?
It's better to keep him than not keep him, in my eyes.
Well, that's Mike's job now, right?
Yeah.
That's Mike's job.
Yep, it is.
Let's see how many guys Mike can keep and how many guys he thinks can play on his current roster can he keep. This is his job.
What are your thoughts on this for Odell, regarding Odell?
I think it's time for Odell to retire, and Odell should do the right thing, or he should say, "Listen, coach."
He kept us together for 2 coaching changes. He gets to stay. Remember,
for when he wants to leave.
He stays until he wants to leave. She said.
Yeah. No, I read that I was going to respond. I decided not to. You can't run an organization this way, but that's what Mike's probably going to do. Coach Ham and Odell are probably the most sensitive pieces of the sports program at FSU. And at some point, you have to have conversations. You have to have conversations. Unless Odell's statistics, does his statistics support him staying on the staff? Do they or not?
I mean, you could say Tremaine.
Line. He's the interior defensive line.
Yes, look at Braden Fisk is one of the top NFL rookies this year,
right?
And then he doesn't do edge, but you could say on the but
right.
J.R. Verse, one of the top, he has two of the top rookies in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I would say.
But this year
he's not clearly fireable. He's not going to get fired. I think
he has to recruit better. He has to
get some 4- and 5-star guys in. I like some of the young guys I've seen who are rotating through. Grady Kelly's played a lot of ball. I mean, he's not going to be a superstar.
We need superstars, though.
Okay, we don't have any. So whose fault is that?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think he's good with. He's got something. Like he knows what he's doing, but I don't think he has the will. He needs someone.
He's a hell of a nice guy. He has to be evaluated like anybody else. You have to take the legacy away and what he's done and what has he done this year. Now you could say, well, last year he had a great year. This year is a down year. But if he's had 9 good years and 1 bad year, he's worth staying on. But he's got to show, what are you bringing to the program for this rebuild? You know what I'm saying?
God, I thought he was older than that. Oh, my God.
How old is he?
Only 57. I thought he was older than that.
Okay.
I thought he was... he's young. I mean...
I like Keith... who is it? Keith Sampson, Lyons. I think these guys... Grady Kelly. I think these guys...
Then they need
I
to
think
play.
I've seen improvement. They're playing. They're playing.
Then they need to show something, because once again we saw what I called would happen is that if we wanted to stay close and keep the game close, we had to stop the explosive runs up the middle. And what happened on Saturday against Notre Dame? You saw explosive runs up the middle.
Okay, who
So
would you
take
rather
Daryl
have?
Jackson. Take Daryl Jackson off the line if he's not performing. Take Patrick Payton off the edge if he's not playing football and using his energy. Take guys who aren't trying or who are not going to be here next year off the line.
I don't know if they're not trying, KB. I don't know if there's
Do you
any
think is
player-
Patrick Payton living up to his paycheck?
No, I didn't like. I had a note from the game where I saw guys run by Peyton and he didn't even try to
Exactly.
grab the
So
guy.
take his ass
I
off
saw
the
that and I
field.
wrote that down.
Take his
I
ass
would.
off the
Yeah,
field.
I probably would.
I'm tired of this shit.
You have to. You can't have developing players who are playing hard and giving 100% effort sitting behind guys who aren't, because that's detrimental to your football team. You can't have guys that are getting paid big money who aren't trying. That's detrimental to your football team. That's the culture that
That's a
they
bad
talk
standard
about.
for everybody else on the field.
So this is the stuff that this staff now has to figure out, right? This is where Mike has to, like anybody, president of any organization, you have staff members who you want to hear truth from. You don't want head wagging. You want the truth of what I see. Doesn't mean I'm right, but this is the way I see it.
Yeah.
And this is what I see as the problem. Here are what I see as the options. Don't just bring problems to your leadership. Bring the problem and options available.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to remove the entire staff. I don't think that's going to happen.
He would have cause to, though.
But that's a hell of a thing to remove the
This
entire
is the
staff.
worst team in college football, maybe history.
I understand.
There's a root cause. You need a root canal.
He's not
for this
going to
team.
remove who's our DB and secondary coach.
No, Surtain I think is fine.
Surtain has recruited well, and I think he's got the talent there that shows up. I really like the guys I see in the secondary.
Edwin Joseph has been a bright spot.
I think more
made
than
some
that.
he made some good open field tackles against Notre Dame.
I think Earl
hustles his
Little.
Earl
I think Earl
his
Little's
effort
starting to
is-
show up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like what Surtain's brought in. I like that he's developing guys. I don't know if he's ready to be DC. That's the only concern. I don't know if he's ready to be promoted to full DC.
No, I don't think he's a DC. I think he still needs to stay in the role that he's in.
Yeah, but he's an
And-
elite
and
recruiter,
so, yeah.
and I think we need
And,
to.
and he brings the NFL experience with him. I want more coaches that either have high elite D1 experience and or some NFL experience. They either played in the NFL or they've coached in the NFL. Okay? And those are the guys that you're going to have to pay, but those are the guys who have the fire and they know that their resumes are on the line too when they take the job.
Yeah.
And so, but let's remember, you have to be able to recruit portal and high school.
But like you said, they're putting their resumes on the line when they come over. And I said before, and also on the Nolecast, they said, Bud Elliott said, are there going to be a lot of guys that feel Mike Norvell's a lame duck coach? Do you feel like Mike Norvell's a lame duck coach?
I think that if I was a coach coming in, these coaches are smart, I'd be looking at the payout. The payout, the payout, even if you have a mediocre year, which I think it could be, I think it could be a 500 year, a little above in 25. I don't think they're going to still want to pony up that kind of money given the legal lawsuit they're in. If they get out of it and get into one of the other Big Ten or the SEC, then I think the money starts to flow a little bit better. I don't think he's a lame duck coach next year. I think he'll have 2 years just based on the golden parachute.
And what do you think of the rumors that Florida State should be calling Will Muschamp at Georgia? Do you think that's a realistic option?
As defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you pay him the right money. He has nowhere but to go up, and he could probably bring some Georgia guys that may not be getting the playing time, and he knows who those guys are, but because right now Marvin Jones and Pat Payton are getting pushed around. Yeah. I've been keying on them, watching them. They can't set the edge. They're not ready for the NFL. That's clear. They're not big enough to set the edge, and they have no pass rush. They're just battling big tackles, and they can't get by the guy. They can't even bull rush the guy, and they're not big enough. And so, Will Muschamp, would he come? Unless he gets a head coaching job someplace. Who's the guy who got fired at Florida, and he's a TV guy now?
I
Matt,
like him.
Matt Mullen.
No, Dan Mullen for
Dan
offensive
Mullen.
coordinator. I like
Could
Dan
he
Mullen
come
a
in
lot.
as an offensive or defense? He's an offensive guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know why his name has.
He's ready to come out of the booth.
I think so too.
He's ready to come out of the booth. Let me float this at you, John Gruden.
No,
Don't
it's
laugh.
not.
No,
It's
just
not
wait.
gonna- It's not
John
gonna happen.
Gruden.
He has no college experience. He has no college
That's
experience.
that's
Yes, it
bullshit.
does-
Who
it does
cares
matter. It
about
does matter.
college? He is a football guy, and he said he's ready.
Because he
He's
doesn't know how
ready
to
come
talk
back.
to young guys. Like he doesn't.
You don't
how
know
to talk.
that. He worked with a lot of guys. He had a quarterback school. He had this offensive school. John Gruden. You might be able to get him on a bargain price to get back into the game
Mike
where he
Norvell
has
can't
not
gamble.
a lot to lose.
Mike Norvell can't gamble on the coach. Like he
Mike
can't take a chance.
You know
He
what?
can't
Mike
afford to
Norvell
take a
can't
chance.
handle his personality is probably the biggest problem there.
Well,
Okay?
I just don't think he can afford to take a chance on a coach like other
Okay,
staffs could.
You know, the next question, they've been throwing around Deion Sanders' name, but Deion...
That's so stupid.
What's he going to do? Is he done at Colorado? He's probably not. But when he gets another good offer from somebody in the SEC or the Big Ten, he's going to take it. He's going to take it. All right. And so is Florida State. I don't know why everybody hates. Why do you hate Deion Sanders? Because the way he is?
No,
He's always been this way.
The name doesn't make sense in this scenario. They're not hiring him right now. Why? What
No, I
doesn't
didn't
make
say-
sense?
I didn't say he's
you just
hiring
brought up
him
his
right now.
name. It doesn't make any sense.
He may do another year at Colorado, and
Good.
then when Norvell gets fired, maybe.
Yes, then we'll
Okay.
talk about the option. But right now, it makes no sense, and that's why I hate people doing clickbait articles. He's not coming in right now, so it doesn't make any sense. They're not hiring a new coach, period. So let's not even talk about head coaching options. We need offensive coordinators. We need defensive coordinators. That's it.
Okay.
Like it's
All
all
right.
clickbait. If anyone
good
floats,
enough.
if anyone
Good
floats
enough.
Deion's name, it's fucking clickbait. I hate it. It's just clickbait.
Are you accusing social media guys of just trying to get views?
It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
Well, it's gonna be interesting how this roster, the coaching staff. I tell you what, I don't know how the hell, but he's got $10 million every season to figure it out. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Satan, Corey Hall said Satan is gone. I think he meant Sertan is gone. It's not Satan. Hey, sorry. I'm going to run through a few of these more comments here. Dagby, always good to see you back. No, you, Matthew, you sound Cainish. Okay, she's online debating stuff. Gruden, he's a mess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I kind of find the guy kind of entertaining. He definitely knows some football. Okay, and he's no nonsense. And let me say this. The sooner we adapt, I don't know if Mike's the right guy. I don't know if he's the business guy to get this turned around. Some people think, well, he did it once. Well, that was once, okay? We have to turn this into the NFL model. And we have to be, right down with these players. And this is the time to do this stuff, where you're brutal with the players. This is brutal. And some coaches are like that. I'm not going to mention Deion Sanders. But he's pretty brutal with the players. He tells you what's good and what isn't good enough. He does it with his own son. I mean, that's not good enough. What are you doing? Mike Norvell is not that type of guy. He's not the Jimbo Fisher guy, who's also, he'll be looking to get back in the ball someplace and won't be at Florida State. It's going to be a hell of a thing. I enjoy the process. I'm a process guy. So it's good. I try to follow the chatter every week of where this is going, who's coming, who's going. But everybody's going to make a choice. That includes coaches that are here, coaches that are coming in, players that are here, and players coming in. It's going to be tough to track.
Yeah.
So what else do you see right now is your biggest concern?
I mean, nothing else. I mean, it's hiring the right people. It starts with hiring the right people, and then everything dominoes from there. Because I see them taking 30-plus players in the portal.
So how many positions have to? We'll go through that on another show.
Yeah, it's another show.
That's another show. Because you have to do the numbers on where the holes are gonna. Where are the holes?
I mean,
you got to get rid of people.
You're losing basically your whole offensive line to graduation anyway, so you're losing a lot.
Do you
of players.
keep? Do you keep the guys that you have though? Do you keep Otto? Do you keep? Do you keep Lucas Simmons? Do you keep? Who are the other guys on that line? I mean,
you keep anyone that you think.
Armello. Do you keep these guys?
You keep anyone that you can think can compete. If Armello's not competing right now, he's off. I don't give a shit whether it's star or. I would get rid of anyone that can't compete. But you're losing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Christ, there's 20 guys in the room.
You're losing at least 6 linemen just to graduation.
Okay.
6 or 7 to graduation. So it doesn't matter. You're losing basically.
Okay, so do you fill those with Solomon Thomas, or do you fill it with a portal guy?
You have to fill it with portal. It's not like Atkins had a bunch of freshmen ready to play.
No, but if you have a 5-star guy, you're going to give him one of those slots.
Yes,
You've got to.
Yeah, you have
that's an automatic.
You have to.
So it's up to him to make that decision.
But once again, this is why Atkins
the rest
is
of the
fired.
guys, you got to go portal.
This is why Atkins is getting fired, because you have basically 6 seniors about to graduate, and there's no one to back them up. This is why you're getting fired, Atkins. You had no backup plan. What was your plan, Atkins? You have 5 seniors starting.
Well, we've
6
had a
seniors
lot of injuries,
on the line.
KB. We've had a lot of injuries. I'm Atkins.
Okay, shut up. Atkins, you have a bunch of seniors on your line. You have no one ready to come in when they graduate. You're terrible. You did not recruit correctly. You did not develop correctly, and you let the cabinet bare. What do you do? What was your plan next season? What was your plan this season? I don't know how Mike didn't see this going into this year. Like you could just look at the graduation years on the chart and see what was the progression. What was the progression chart and development chart of the offensive line?
He said he's been evaluating.
You would have to be a 5. You would have to hit on every portal transfer on the offensive line to sustain this. It's like hitting on red at the roulette table every single time to be successful. And they weren't this year.
I love this comment here. Is Mike Norvell going to stake the 25 season on Luke Kromenhoek? What do you think?
I don't think either of them's ready to lead the team. I mean, I know. No, I think he has. It's a really tough question.
Because it's difficult to evaluate these quarterbacks when your offensive line is the worst in the country. How do you evaluate those quarterbacks?
I don't think the quarterback. I don't think the offensive line. I don't think receivers are very good either. So it's really tough. I mean, like I said, I could see 30+ new players on this team. I think you could throw out half of the receivers, maybe more than half the receivers. The entire offensive line will be gone. I honestly, it's tough. I don't know if the I don't know if the quarterbacks are good. I mean, Blake
I don't think they've had a fair evaluation.
Brock's not looked very good. I thought his eyes were better than Luke's, but Brock's eyes also deceive him very much when he throws
Well, wouldn't
picks.
you if it's a jailhouse break coming after you every play?
Yeah, but yeah.
Come on, KB. It's a nightmare for these two guys.
No,
if that was my son playing quarterback, I would be very concerned that he has not had a real good opportunity to show who he is, because this offensive line is the worst
you have to think back too.
in the country.
But
I would almost tell my son, listen.
But we've seen guys like James Blackman behind the worst offensive lines too.
God.
We've seen guys at Florida State, quarterbacks like James Blackman, DeAndre Francois behind terrible
and Jordan Travis.
But those guys,
he didn't have the best offensive line.
No. But like James Blackman, those guys, they got abused behind the lines, but they made it work. So that's why I'm like comparing it back. Those guys were able to operate out of it. They weren't great, but they made it operate. And now these are young guys. Brock doesn't look like a starting quarterback. Like I don't
Well,
see him leading us to a championship.
Do you think we'll
I think
get?
he's a good backup. I just don't know if he's going to be able to lead.
Did
us
you
to a
think the
championship.
plan against Notre Dame of them switching when they did was
No,
a
it's
good
stupid.
plan?
It's still stupid. No, it makes no sense. It's non-logical. It's just give them a full quarter and then switch, or a half and then switch. It makes no sense to me. I
Right.
don't know what the
There'd
rhythm
be
is.
better rhythm.
They're
Yeah.
so stupid.
So
They're
against
stupid.
Charleston Southern in 2 weeks.
I really don't care what they do. It just doesn't.
Well,
matter
do you
to me
think
at this
that's
point.
an evaluation game?
No. I
It
don't know
is,
how
Sure,
the-
it is.
I don't know
it's
how
an
they're- no,
evaluation
that
game.
game is- that game
Every
is-
game moving forward, which is only 2, is an evaluation game.
Playing
of
playing
who
against
can
an
play on this
FCS school
roster.
is not evaluating.
And maybe Mike should have another team meeting and with everybody there and say, listen, this program is in trouble.
If Mike
This is-
loses to
this is
an
the worst
if,
program.
if he loses to
He's
that
not
school,
going to lose to Charleston
if
Southern.
he does,
If he does, he's fired. He's
yes,
gone.
no, that's what I'm
Somebody
saying.
will buy him out.
That's what I'm
That'll
saying.
be it.
If he loses to that school, I am not putting it off the table that someone wires a check and gets him fired. I am not taking that.
They're
off the
not going to
table.
lose to Charleston Southern.
I'm
In fact, I think they're going to have a pretty good game
No,
against you. You
no,
know why?
no,
Because guys want to put a lot on tape.
No,
Okay.
no.
Listen
Can't.
to me.
They're not capable of it.
Listen to me.
They've tried.
Listen to me.
They've tried.
When at this point in any season in this type of business that they're in, now it's individual. It's an individual thing. Like when they go to
Keep
camp to
saying
get their
that.
star.
You keep saying that.
It is now. This is what
can't-
you do. You
they
turn as
can't.
an
They
individual.
can't. They're not
They are
operating.
individual now. They're not operating as a team. So if I'm an offensive
That
lineman, I'm
doesn't
doing
work
my
in football.
best.
That doesn't work in football, though.
Yeah,
that doesn't,
bullshit,
that
it doesn't.
actually makes
You
the
don't think
offense
that-
work worse.
No.
If you're
Well-
operating as an individual in an offense, it actually works worse.
No, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. If I'm doing my job, then I'm helping the team. Because I'm not trying to do your job. That's how football works. I'm doing my job. I'm not
So they
doing your
haven't-
job.
So you're saying they haven't been doing that all year?
I'm saying they may not have the ability.
I
Okay?
don't know what you're
That's
saying.
one thing that hasn't been addressed by social media to Norvell. And that is this question. Mike, is it possible that these guys are all playing at the top of their ceiling? Because you said they're putting in the work every week, that they're playing at the top of their ceiling and they have no more to give. Is that the possibility, or they're just not good enough? What is it? They're not putting out, or they hit the ceiling and they're just not good enough, Mike? You can have players like that. There are teams that are like that. They're putting out 100% and they're just not good enough.
This team's not bad enough to be 1-8 and score 13 points.
Do we think Brock Glenn and Luke are not playing their best? They're playing the best they can given the circumstances of their experience, what's happening in front of them. That's the best they can give.
It's game plan and execution.
And you know what Mike
It's game
Norvell
plan
would
and
say?
execution.
If you asked him that directly, he'd say, I think they're giving it their best.
It's game plan.
Whether he believes it or not, I don't know. But these players might have hit their ceilings.
It's
Who
game plan and
do you think has not hit their ceiling?
It's game plan and execution.
Who do you think has not hit their ceiling?
I'm not going to go through every player right now. I'm not going to do that. But this team is not the worst team in college football.
They are the worst football team
Yeah,
in
they are,
college
statistically.
football. The
But
worst
that's
football
on-
team in
that's on-
FSU football history.
That's on game plan and execution. And that's on them. But this team, if they were, once again, to adjust to how the personnel, the coaching
Yeah.
staff would execute, change the game plan, put players in the right positions to make the right plays, and if those players were to execute, they wouldn't be 1-8.
Do you give Trevor a chance, or is he not really part of the factors here?
At this point, who gives a shit? Put him in. I mean, I don't think he's going to do better because, once again, but you have to put him in the right place to succeed. You can't just throw him into the regular game plan and say, go, Trevor, go. Like, it doesn't work like that. You have to put players in the right positions to succeed. You can't roll Brock out to the short side of the field and try to make him find the touchdown. Like, some of the play calling just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
You don't play Trevor unless you see him as a factor in moving forward. Okay? And Trevor, I don't blame Trevor to say, if I can't play here in this mess, I'm out of here.
Well, he's a
And
walk-on.
I'll
He
go.
should,
To,
like,
no,
yeah.
he should and go someplace and find a place to play.
He
It's
literally
gonna
has
be
no
very frustrating for
he has
him.
no financial incentives to stay here.
No.
Like he's not getting paid to stay here. He's literally paying for himself. So yeah, you know, if he's not getting on the field on a one win team, he should absolutely leave if he sees no future here.
How about
if he's not
this?
getting, if he's not getting in 2 weeks, then yeah, he should be
How
gone.
about this? Save Luke's red shirt and plan to play Trevor the last 2 games from Matthew Ray.
I'm not against that because then they both preserve themselves.
Would you have to go to Luke and say, Luke, this is the plan. We want you back here to compete for the starting quarterback 25. We're going to redshirt you, and there's no sense putting you in here these 2 games, and we'll play Trevor some.
Yeah.
I don't know how Luke's team would react to that.
Well, Brock may just opt out because Brock's already used all.
Yeah,
his,
some players have
yeah.
already opted out of games. Wait till you see the bowl season this year besides the playoff.
But yeah, I mean, I
it's going
would
to be
push,
a joke.
I would push for that because I think Brock. I think Luke would be down for that because this is a wasted year, and Trevor, if he wants to get some reps on tape.
This
Good
is what gets me is it's going to be on the pressers. Why not ask a question? What's your plan for Trevor Jackson? Do you see him as part of this program moving forward, or are you going to give him a shot in these last 2 games? Nobody asks shit like that. I mean, they just ask the same questions.
Well, it is what it is.
Frustrating.
All right, well that's gonna do it.
Any other burning issues?
No, I think the last thing I wanted to bring up, just to mention, because it is important, and it talks about how coaching continuity can actually work correctly, is Florida State women's soccer won their 5th straight ACC title. So
Under a new coach, right?
everyone thought it was doom and gloom when the new coach came in, and you lost the
Yeah.
legacy coach. And
Yeah.
this guy's
Players
come
were
in.
leaving. Yeah.
And this guy's come in and won 2 or 3 straight. So he's kept the team strong, kept the dynasty alive, and built the foundation the right way and kept it going. So we could learn a lesson here or two from ladies soccer and what they done and continue to do. And congrats to them. And we hope that they have a strong tournament and can bring another championship home. So congrats again to them and their staff and their players and what they continue to do for Florida State because they've lived up to the hype and they continue to represent the brand very, very well. So it's great to see. It's great to see.
It was good to see Sean Murphy back in action Saturday night. He was getting some reps. He's been injured most of the season. It's good to see him. That guy for Notre Dame, we should try to get him. Riley Mills. He was a monster. That guy's like a redshirt freshman or some shit? He was the tackle, number 99 for Notre Dame. He had sack after sack after pressure after sack.
How are we going to get
No,
him?
I know. But what I'm saying, if you offer enough, but that guy was a monster. I mean, he was going up against Darius Washington. He made Darius Washington look sick.
I mean,
He just obliterated
Everyone looks
Darius
really good. I mean,
Washington.
yeah.
It was horrible to watch. Even the announcers, it was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. So, I mean, we vented here a little bit, but I'm more now about, I've lost the emotion of, oh God, we lost again, or it's more about where are we going, how are we going to get there, and Norvell has got a very short leash. He's got to be a very short leash, but I do believe in my summary, I think he can make it to a bowl game with 5 wins, 6 wins next year. Now, whether that's enough to satisfy the ownership of FSU football operations and the fan base, I don't know.
We'll find out. Well, that'll do it for now. A lot we went over, but we'll continue to track. Obviously, we're on coaching watch, and we'll see what happens in terms of do more coaches go? What happens? I'm assuming Brandon Shannon will be here for the longevity of the season, for the last couple of games. But I think there's going to be a lot of other staff shuffles, especially on the lower assistant sides with the analysts, stuff like that. But that'll probably happen once the new coaches come in. But yeah, we'll be monitoring There'll be a lot of names thrown out there, so that'll be interesting to watch. Obviously, we have a bye week this upcoming week, then Charleston Southern. So we'll have a show in a week or so, or if something big pops up, we'll obviously jump on that. So thanks for coming by. Thanks.
And let me say this, let me say this again. Shout out to our veterans. We appreciate everything you do for this country. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the ability to be on here and talk the way we do and support football the way we like to. It's America's game. Again, a salute out to our veterans. The last thing I want to say is this. Because we talk hard, we're not talking hard on people's personalities. This isn't personalities. This isn't about that they're not good people, that they're not good character people. This is a tough business. America's tough. Whether you're in sports, entertainment, or you're in the commercial sectors, or you're in the military, everybody gets feedback. Everybody gets told whether you're doing good or you're doing bad. But don't think we're negative, because there's been too much hugging and kissing around this program. And some of that is the fault of Mike Norvell, the way he presents himself. That everybody, here comes a new recruit from high school, and we got to fill up his Twitter and Instagram account. It's all bullshit. Well, don't play into that. Why are you doing that? Let's not beg people to come to this program. Let's make incentives for them to come to the program. Tell them what they can gain out of it for themselves. Everybody wants to know what's in it for me. Tell them what's in it for them. But we're not going to beg people to come here. There's other players out there that are hungry enough that if you go find them, they're going to help your program in the long run. This is a long rebuild, in my opinion. Okay? But can it turn around quickly? Yes. There's been coaches who do it. Coach Prime in Colorado has shown that. Indiana, as KB pointed out. It can be done, but it's going to take the right fit by the right people. But don't accuse people who talk tough and hard about this program, because we do care, all right? But we're not hugging and kissing like some programs. If you want that, then go to that program too. You'll get a balance of both. That's it.
There you go. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for the comments, the likes. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great week. Have a safe one, and we will see you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Go Knowles.